All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Survivor Indianapolis YouTube channel. I'm just gonna chat for a little bit about Survivor 50, episode 5, and then get into the fantasy update for anyone that cares about that. Honestly, this episode was totally fine by me. I really, 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 really wanted Christian's tribe, I can't remember their tribe names right now, to win that challenge just so we wouldn't see the same group go back to tribal council another time. Um, Thought they had a chance with, I mean, Ozzy was incredible at the beginning of the challenge. Um, and he was good at the beanbags, it seems like at the end, and like just, they just came up a little bit short. Um, obviously, again, like I said, would have liked to see them win. Once it was like, hey, only one team's gonna win, I was like, okay, well, it probably won't be Christian and Emily in that group, just based off of what we've seen so far with this group after the merge, or after the swap, excuse me. It just doesn't seem like they're gonna win a challenge. So I was thrilled to see that next episode we are gonna get a merge of some kind. I don't want to be too sure of like, oh, this is definitely a merge, because it seems like there's some chaos going on, and I don't even really know exactly what is happening. So, you know, but it's Survivor 50. I'm not gonna rule anything out. Um, they like to play games around the merge and do some goofy stuff with, hey, we're gonna send, two tribes to tribal council, or we're gonna like say, hey, half the group's immune, or there's all kinds of different wacky stuff they like to do around this time. And also there's 17 players in the game. So with 17 in the game, that makes me think that like for one, that's just it's insane. So it makes me think they're gonna get rid of a couple people probably. I don't know, because 18 is how many players they've had at the beginning of the game, the last 9 seasons or whatever. And not just the last 9 seasons, they have had that number 18 before the new era. Not every time, obviously. A lot more often it was 20, but it's not the first time. 41 was not the first time we had 18 players. So having 18, having 17 at the merge, they're saying merge. We'll see. They had different buffs, so like we'll see. I'm just hesitant to fully believe it unless they're gonna go for the merge and just start like axing people like left and right and getting really um this is what I said last week. I said I would rather them do these multiple vote outs in one episode around the middle of the game than do it early or at the end. And so, you know, I didn't really want to see Angelina go. I would have rather seen Stephanie go, or honestly even Emily. Like I really like Emily as a player going into this season. In the first few episodes, I was enjoying her, but the more that she starts to seem to sink Christian's game, the more that I am off the board, off the boat of the Emily fan train. Not because of anything she specifically like is doing personally or anything like that. At the end of the day, if she won, I would rather her win than probably five or so other players, maybe more than that even. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. I'm just going off the top of my head. She's someone that I wouldn't be mad with winning the game. Um, I just would rather see Christian be in the game longer, and if she's the reason why he's out, I'm gonna be frustrated. I mean, not like at her, just at the situation. But probably I'll be upset when Christian's out at all. He's my favorite right now. So, on this season right now so far, coming into this season, he was one of my top favorites, but I'm not sure if I would have had him as number one or not. I didn't really think about that, but so far he's been the one that I've enjoyed watching the most. Um, and we'll see. He may be just fine. It's hard to say in a season like this. It's hard to say, but if you just look at the edit in terms of how many confessionals people are getting, sometimes players get a lot of confessionals because they're big characters just in general. Sometimes they get them because they're big characters or they're not, but either way, it's because they have a big impact on that part of the season, but they're not going to be in the season for very long. So they're kind of giving them a bigger edit for the time that they are in the season. Sometimes they just dominate, or have a big impact and have a big edit the entire game. So it's hard to say for sure. If I had to pick, I would say Christian probably will be out in the next few episodes. I don't know if next one is the one, but it wouldn't shock me if he got voted off sometime soon. I hope he doesn't. It just seems like he is building the target on his back. Not so much. Some of it's his doing, but some of it I think is just situational, and that's just kind of how the game works. Sometimes you get swapped into a group that just isn't clicking, and you're having to kind of take charge in some ways. to save your life. And I don't know, maybe you can find a way to shift it off of him for a little while and kind of play under the radar and just go with the flow a little bit. You know, he doesn't have an idol. He didn't give anybody an idol. Um, no, he did give somebody an idol. He gave, but he tried to play it off that Rick did it. So that's right. So maybe people will think that Rick did it and not him. And once idols start, it merged 17 people. It would not shock me if we saw one or more of the idols get played this next episode. Because if all 17 didn't go to tribal council, which that makes me like that. Even just saying that out loud, I'm like, I don't know. That seems unlikely, but maybe that's gonna happen. But whatever happens, if you get a big group of people that mostly haven't voted together going to tribal council, the odds seem to be pretty high to me that at least one idol gets played. And as soon as that happens, that raises people's threat levels for if they if it's successful, especially if they cancel out a handful of votes or more, then it raises their threat level and takes some heat off of Christian, which would be nice. Again, I'm just talking from Christian's point of view. I probably shouldn't be doing that for this long, but that's where I'm at right now. Um, Ultimately, like, I kind of hated to see Charlie go too. I like Rizzo too, so it was just when they're going back and forth, I was just like, kind of it's a bummer because it was very interesting. Like I talked about either I don't remember if it was last week or the week before that, but the whole idea that all these players have some baggage from their previous seasons that they haven't fully gotten over yet is really interesting. I mean, Ozzy saw it flare up this episode. It's been happening to Charlie for 2 or 3 episodes now. Um, and those two are far from the only ones that have vocalized some level of like, man, in my last season or what, in whatever season this happened, and I really, it really has stuck with me, and it really has, Christian cried this episode or last episode, right? Talking about what happened to him in his season, and it's just that is much more interesting to me than what you can get. You can't get that from a new player season, and I'm not saying that to argue that every season should be a new player season or anything like that. Just that like that is the benefit of doing a regular returning player season is that you can tell a different story that is interesting in a different way than what you get from a new player season. So it's not like you're not just doing it to like cash in on some nostalgia or something like that, but you're also doing it to tell a more interesting story. And so it's like that storytelling variance is a quirk that I've only seen in Survivor because I just feel like they cast in a way and the game plays in a way that you can get varied personalities in the game for a long time, and varied personalities can get edits that are bigger or smaller, and that's just it lends itself to a more unique blend of storytelling options. But if you only do the same kind of season every single time, then wow, well I can't edit that out. Well, I could, but I'm not going to. It's gonna take forever. So you get to see a bizarre steez. I'm gonna really find out if you all are listening to this and watching this. Anyways, you get the point. Let's move on from the storytelling aspects of a returning player season versus a newbie season. I will say, I saw some interviews from Angelina talking about the women's edits and how that has been an issue, and I fully agree. Like, you just look at the confessional counts. I mean, Tiffany, think about like how big of a percentage do you feel like of the gameplay that Tiffany's been a part of? Is she been, what's she been doing? So it's like, okay, so she was trying to create this alliance with her and Dee in their starting tribe, and I feel like it was her and Dee, and was it Chrissy? I can't remember if it was Chrissy or if it was a female because there was the three of them. I think it was Chrissy. But they're trying to create this alliance, and then she gets swapped, and she starts to form this bond with Aubrey, has this plan with Aubrey, and it's showed up a couple different times, a couple different episodes. Well, she's had zero confessionals the last 2 episodes, and has had two on the season as a whole. And Chrissy has had five on the season as a whole. Just to give you some context, Kyle and Jenna got four in episode one. Savannah has 11, and she got voted off episode two. So, you know, Angelina in 5 episodes only has nine. Christian has 35. Ozzy has 34. And I love Christian, and I think that he has mostly earned most of those confessionals. But you think about like what has someone like Jonathan done? Jonathan, I'm looking live right now. He has 8 confessionals. So to me, that's probably about right. But when Chrissy only has 5, and you're like, well, she's had several interesting moments, and Jonathan's done almost nothing except for save Coach's life. So outside of that one moment, it's like, what else has he done to gain confessionals more than um, Chrissy or Tiffany? And it's like, oh, I don't really know. Camilla has 9, but she had 4 this week. So she had 4, or she had 5, excuse me, the first 4 episodes, so almost one a week. Um, D only has 6 right now in 5 episodes. This is a dynamic winner who's a big personality, and has had 6, sorry, in 5 weeks, and she only had 1 last week. And all that screen time she got about Zach Brown, she only had 1 confessional. Just kind of an odd situation, and we'll see how it plays out late long term. But like, it's been interesting. Like a good example, Aubrey found an idol and has had a lot of like stuff happen around her almost from the beginning. She has 12 confessionals. Stephanie has been to like 3 tribal councils in a row, and trust me, I do not like Stephanie. I think she's a pretty bleh person outside of Survivor. But just like that doesn't mean that the edit should be bad just because I don't like her as a person. So she's got 11 confessionals, and you might think that's a lot. It's like a higher, almost as many as Aubrey, and Aubrey had an idol. Uh, well, Stephanie had 6 in the first episode and has had 5 in the last 4 episodes. So she had a big jump and then has averaged basically 1 a week since then. Not quite, obviously, a little bit more than that, but Emily has been to 5 tribal councils, 5 out of 5 weeks. She's been a tribal council, and she only has 19 confessionals. Um, it's just like like Angelina went to the last 3, only has 9. Q had 18 in 3 weeks. And Q is a big personality. I get him having a lot, but having 18 in just 3 episodes, an average of 6 an episode, when you have some of these people getting 1 or 2 every episode, it's just a little interesting. I mean, Suri, the biggest name on the season, right? By a long shot, the biggest name on the season. Suri has 13 in 5 episodes, and she went to two tribal councils. And so, uh, like, just just interesting, right? I don't know. I feel like that there's still plenty of time for that to turn around and that to be shifted into something more positive. But there is just a little bit of a trend so far. Again, it's obviously early, but a little bit of a trend of them not necessarily giving people the edit that they maybe have earned. So, I mean, like, you look at Mike White, right? He's in 4 episodes. He had 17 confessionals in 4 episodes. His boot episode, so like the episode that they get voted off, right? Jenna had 4, which is pretty solid. Kyle had 4, which is again pretty solid, but that was a long, long episode. Um, Savannah on her boot only had 2. Q on his had 5. Mike on his had 5. Angelina and Charlie both had 2. So you might think, well, Charlie got a little bit under edited there. Yeah, and maybe they were doing that to try to like make it seem more like that Rizzo might go home because sometimes people read the edit and the player that gets like a big jump in confessionals, people think, oh, they're getting a big jump in confessionals because they're getting ready to be voted out. And they did give Rizzo a big jumping in confessionals this episode. He had let me see. He had 8. He had 8. He had 8 in the first 4 episodes and had 8 on Wednesday. So maybe they were doing that for like a strategic purpose. But like Angelina in her 5 episodes was 3-0-2-2-2. So it's just consistently like, Tiffany 1-0-1-1, oh sorry, 1-0-1-0-0. Chrissy 2-0-2-1-0. Aubrey again found an idol. 3-4-1-3-1. Just kind of low. And I know some of you that are watching this are like, I don't really care about confessionals. I don't really care about whatever. That's fine. I'm not saying you have to care about it. But it is interesting. It's noteworthy. Camilla 2-0, 1-2, and then a 4 from last week. Um, just interesting to me. Interesting. And Camilla was like the linchpin vote, pretty much, it seemed like, right? It was like the reason Charlie got voted off was because Camilla chose Rizzo. Um, and she gets 4, which is not bad. Um, but it feels like maybe, other people like Christian was pretty influential, and so were Ozzy on this vote. Christian got 6 and Ozzy got 9. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But it could be potentially problematic here at some point. Maybe it already is to some people. But let's go ahead and get into the fantasy, sorry, not strategy, the fantasy Survivor stuff. Okay, so let me pause for 1 second, the recording, I mean, and then I will come back with the fantasy stuff here. Okay, so let's get back to the fantasy for the week. In 10th place, we have Alyssa. Pretty tough week. I mean, obviously, you only have 5 people, and then you lose one of the 5. Like I was saying last week, you kind of got to keep those people. You got to have as many people, I mean, as many players, and need the rest of us to have more to lose players, which obviously some of us did, but um, you need to keep yours. So moving forward, the next week or two, she got to keep some players around if she wants to get back into the game. Um, Ninth place, 13 points higher, is Brooke 230. Also a rough week, only 19, and loses a player, Charlie. Down to 3 players. Like she really needs a couple of these to stay in the game, like maybe the rest of the game. Um, Similar to Alyssa, but almost even more extreme, even though she's ahead of Alyssa when you only have 3 players versus Alyssa's what, 4? Yeah, so gotta keep them around. 251 is going to be eighth place with Ben. 30 points, solid week, but does lose another player. So again, had 5 down to 4. Tough spot. Does have 2, Coach and Christian, that are really big time point earners. It's a big reason why Ben's in eighth and only 1 point below seventh with Alex. Again, a pretty tough week. Has lost some of his big point earners and Q and Mike earlier. Didn't lose anybody today though, or in this week though, which is good. But Jonathan's not really giving him a whole lot recently. Both Chrissy and Tiffany had lower weeks. Coach had his lowest week as one of the top point earners. Just generally speaking, he's fourth overall. Had a lower week this week, so he definitely needs to keep this trend of not losing anybody. Um, just like the other people that I've talked about. It's basically been the common factor so far in the people in the top in the bottom 4, 7, 8, 9, 10. They all have 4 or 5 players, or 5 or less players, I should say. Um, Ellie is in sixth with 261. And has what, 5 players, right? 2, 4, yeah, 5. Just lost Charlie though, so had 6 this week. Had a 40-point week, solid week. Is still definitely in it, and but similarly has 5 players. So, it has lost one for several weeks. It's kind of been a reason why she's been in the mix, but not in the top. So, definitely need to, again, like, it's pretty basic. Just keep your players as long as possible, and it adds up. It helps, especially early in the game. Mason is actually in fifth, 281. So a big 20-point jump. There's a big separation here from Mason, to the bottom 5. And it's kind of a pretty clear to me separation between top 5, bottom 5 in terms of how many players they have and just how they're doing week to week. Now, not a great week for Mason, as you can see, 6, 6, 5, 5, 4, 6, 4. But because he has all of his players right now, he's able to maintain a solid 36, which is not bad. Less than Ellie, but I think higher than anyone else that I've mentioned so far. Well, I haven't mentioned Cameron yet. So 19, 30 for Ben. Yeah, so I think is just under Ellie for points this week. So he just had a lead for having all 7 players. And then fourth place, like I said, is Cameron. I didn't say that yet, but I just mentioned Cameron. 292, 11 points above Mason. A low week with 36, and he did lose Charlie and had lost Mike last week. So it's 2 in a row losing a player for Cameron. Does still have Ozzy, who's the number 1 point. earner so far to this point. Yeah, which is a big reason why he is in the spot he is in, even after having lost a player last week and then also this week. But now he's at five. Definitely has to, be careful here if he wants to maintain that top four position and get even higher. Staying strong in third place is David, myself. I did lose a player. That's a bummer. But and I do have some quieter players. Tiffany and Emily and Chrissy have just been kind of quieter recently the last couple of weeks. 8-4, 9-5, 8-5. And Christian has been a little quieter, 9-9 than he was the first couple episodes, but mostly just because he is not winning anything or getting any advantages. So it's just purely like confessionals and surviving the round. And so maybe if that could change moving forward. Maybe there's more opportunities to win some challenges with a team or with a group or finding an idol or whatever else. We'll see. But I think overall, obviously having Coach, Christian, and Ozzy, who are I think they're all top four or five. Is the big reason why I'm there. Yeah, Ozzy and Christian are one and two. I think Coach is four. So I have three of the top four players points wise on my team. So I feel okay. Um, but obviously it could really flip over on a dime if Christian gets voted off soon and Ozzy, like you never know. So I'm not going to be too confident on how I'm doing so far. I'm still in third place. So second place, staying in second place, or actually dropping from first to second, right? I think that Noah was in second or was in first last week. Noah, a down week given that he had six players. Both Ellie passed him, I passed him, and then Stacy in points this week passed Noah. Noah still is above all of us in second place, but um, did have fewer points this week than what he has had. Um, you know, with only having one tribe win immunity, just the general overall points were down. There was no reward challenge, so overall points were down. But Noah's still obviously in a good position, second place with six players still. And then whoops, and then not in bad position. He does have Genevieve, who's a high point earner. And Rizzo had a great week this week for him, so we'll see where he goes from here. Number one, Stacy, the best week of the best. I was number two in points for this week, and Stacy was number one, 50 points for the week, and in first place now. Has Christian, has Rizzo had a huge week. And Aubrey with the idols, and Camilla had a pretty big week this week in confession. She had four confessionals, the most she's had in a while. Most she's had the whole season. So overall, Stacy's doing a really good job. And then look back at the player by player breakdowns here. Like I said, Ozzy and Christian are one and two. Genevieve is three though. Coach is four. Rizzo is five now. Aubrey is sixth. Colby is tied there. Oh, no, no, no. Colby is 46, so he's seventh by himself. Rick is eighth. Joe is ninth. Sari is fallen to 10th. Camilla has jumped up to 11th. Jonathan in 12. Chrissy 13. Emily 14. D 15. Tiffany 16. Whoops. Hope I didn't come across too loud. I just bunked my knee on the desk here. And then in 17th is Stephanie. Curious to see what happens next week, guys. I will also at some point soon try to do like how many points did each player earn per dollar spent, to kind of get like a value estimate. It's just interesting to me. So that's where we're at though. Stacy number one, Noah number two, David number three, Cameron number four, Mason number five, Ellie six, Alex seven, Ben eight, Brooke nine, and Alyssa 10. And there is now almost 100 points separating first and second, first and 10th, sorry, first and last. Stacy's at 314 and Alyssa's at 217, so very close there. It probably will happen next week because unless Stacy loses two players or something crazy like that, I would expect there to be a bigger gap next week, but hopefully we can stay somewhat competitive. Otherwise, guys, I will see you next week.